I tell you, there is a $75 million tax that some Democrats right here in our own state of Connecticut, they would like to slap on Connecticut health insurance companies. And by the way, that tax will will run its course and be passed on to you and me. We're the middle class, my friends. We're the ones that are going to end up paying for it. How? Well, how about in higher health insurance premiums? That's very. Let me tell you something. You're not hearing about this, but out in mainstream media, but you're hearing about it right here. Good morning. It's Gary Byron. 11 minutes after 8. It's 8:11 on this Friday, the 12th of March. Our next guest into the Daily Connerton Memorial Company interview chair is an individual who I shared a couple of committees with. I believe we were on the Aging Committee together. I also believe we were on the Human Services Committee together in our time in the legislature. He is State Senator Tony Hwang. Tony, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Gary. Great to join you this morning, and we have a tease of spring in the air.
Oh my, yeah, but it's going to be short-lived. I understand it's two cold fronts are coming through. One today, and I think one over Sunday or something like that. Where it might even get a snowstorm early next week. So I tell you, it's going to be 39, 40, 41 degrees to tomorrow and through the weekend. And that's just that tease. Although I took it for what it is. You know, March is so inconsistent. That tease got me nowhere.
Well, there's a parallel, right? There's so much going on in Hartford,
yeah.
and there's so much uncertainty. But I got to tell you, one thing is certain: the arrogance of the Democratic one-party control, and the resultant lack of differing ideas, and the transparency of representative government is clearly obvious during this frantic and uneven Zoom session that we're in during the General Assembly session. It's unlike anything I've experienced, but one thing is constant. It is the arrogance of one-party control, and they have all the right ideas.
Yeah.
And there's so many bad bills that affect our middle class, struggling businesses, and people's personal rights. And really a common theme throughout anything we're going to talk about today is that the state government takeover of home rules and municipalities, of our businesses like health insurance, zoning, and land use is a theme.
It is. I want to get to that.
And the executive order that we can continue this, that state government can do a better job than you sector. And I and the constituents that are the enterprising fabric of what this American culture's greatness is all about. It's a struggle, and it's a fight that I'm fighting every day.
Yeah, I was going to say, first of all, I don't know how you do these Zoom calls. I don't know how if I were still up there with you, I don't know how I would have fared with that. But I guess when you're forced with something, you have no choice. You have to go with what you're dealt with. And before our listeners start to yawn as they think about insurance committees, well, and you're right. You're right about the one-party rule that's gone on for 40 years now. But we'll talk in a moment about the far left wing of the Democrat Party and how they are having their impact on our state. That even moderate Democrats, including Governor Ned Lamont, is shaking his head. He's not exactly on board, from what I understand. But before we go there, Tony, please tell us all about the fireworks, the drama, the skullduggery that happened in your committee yesterday.
Well, it is the Insurance and Real Estate Committee,
right.
And one of the most important parts of our committee and bills is the health insurance cost minimization objective. Now, there is a Democratic plan, and it's led by Comptroller Kevin Limbo, and it's saying that he can craft a state-controlled health insurance program that will deliver all the promise of the challenge of people who are struggling. They pay high premiums, those individuals that are struggling with health care cost. We're going to have a magic silver bullet that's going to fix it all because of this public option program. And the reality of health insurance is, as I said repeatedly in our committee, is the fact that if we knew that solution to be, we would have done it 30 years ago. Health care insurance is a ecosystem of not just insurance companies, because they're not high on everybody's holiday list, I assure you, but it's all about hospital cost, medical doctor cost, equipment, prescription drugs, and how we can manage risk in regards to healthcare insurance. But that's the reality. But the Democrat proposal is saying the state can do a better job than the insurance companies, the world leaders that we have based in our state can do.
Tony, the state can't even run the DMV properly. And by the way, I thought Connecticut was the insurance capital of the world. I know Des Moines, Iowa would give us a run for our money and say otherwise, but no, we've been notorious, the state of Connecticut, for being the insurance capital. What would that do for the Connecticut jobs, the thousands and thousands of people who work in insurance?
You're right. In these difficult economic times, it is about jobs and businesses for one, but far more important, it has to be a plan that works, right? Gary, and the problem with that plan is there's a precursor to this called the partnership plan that included insurance now for our teachers and various other municipal programs that they're running. And you know what? It's losing money.
Yeah.
Right? And here's the problem. You know, when insurance companies insure and they lose money, it's the insurance company's challenge and burden, right? But here's the problem. Under this partnership program, when you're losing money because your risk outruns your ability to collect fees, the taxpayers of Connecticut hold the bill. That's a problem. Now, look, that's an idea. We're trying to manage costs, and I give kudos to the controller for doing this. It isn't a good plan. So for us as Republicans, we have proposed an alternate plan. Mm-hmm. And the governor himself has also proposed an alternate plan. And here are major components. We're looking to say use reinsurance. All of your conversations this morning about federal funds that are coming in, why are we not using that to use a concept called reinsurance, which exists in all of our insurance marketplaces, not just health insurance, to be able to spread out the risk, lower the risk management, and ergo lower the premium on people who are buying these policies. A second component is using benchmarking, which Massachusetts and Rhode Island have used to manage costs. So we can do some comparative analysis of procedures and costs to manage that. The third is to hone in on the rising cost of prescription drugs, to manage that cost.
Yes.
Our fourth component is not trusting government, not trusting the entity, that we put in a transparency audit process. Would you believe that the governor paralleled his proposal very similar to ours? The difference between the Republican perspective proposal and the governor's proposal along these same lines is the fact the governor wants to impose an assessment and tax on policies that you talk about versus Republicans' perspective of saying, hey, let's leverage the federal funds that are coming in and let's make sure that we use the money effectively to minimize risk, but not put a burden on our businesses and ultimately the consumer and residents of the state of Connecticut.
Senator, when government gets involved in open competition in the free market, and oh my goodness, doesn't that talk about overreach? I'm sorry. Wouldn't they also be able to dictate who you could see for doctors and specialists rather than one that you have been comfortable with, maybe one that you have been using all along? When you control the insurance that provides the coverage and which pays for those appointments and the treatment that you're receiving, if you're going to pay for it, won't that also come down to, well, we're going to tell you who to go to and who you can't go to?
Well, remember the Affordable Care Act during its infancy and the promise of President Obama that said, with the ACA, you'll get the same doctors, the same hospitals.
Yeah, but that didn't necessarily manifest itself. Yeah,
that was an overpromise that disenfranchised so many people. Here's the struggle with the public option plan. Look, Democrats, Republicans, and the governor all agree we need to control healthcare costs. We just believe in a different way, a better way. And so here's one of the problems. Under the public option plan, the idea that they can adversely select people, what that means in English is they're going to cherry pick risks. So one of the things that the Affordable Care Act did that was a positive was everyone and anyone with pre-existing conditions will be given insurance coverage, right? Under the public option plan, it's written clearly that the controller can control and adverse select people that may have conditions. So you could have a plan with 20 people, and they could say 3 people with significantly health risks could be excluded. That is not what the promise of the public option. That is not the promise of accessible health care.
Wow.
It's right. You never hear about it.
No, you never will. Folks, we're speaking with State Senator Tony Hwang. Majority Democrats at the last minute, I heard, tried to change the language of the bill in basically saying that you have to pass it first before we can see what's in it, Boy, where have I heard that before?
Well, no, actually, I want to clarify that. In a bipartisan manner yesterday, that's where the fireworks came up, Gary. A bipartisan effort with Republicans and some Democrats. We amended in the committee the bill to include transparency, to include accountability in regards to how you are going to run the plan. Because prior to our amendment, the plan and the controller doesn't even need to be regulated by the Department of Insurance. Every single insurance product in the state of Connecticut is regulated by the Department of Insurance, which is one of the best in the country. We put in an amendment. Now, you know how hard that is, Gary, that we actually proposed an amendment in committee and altered the language of that bill, Senate Bill A42, the public option, to include a review, audit, and transparency process. And I have to tell you, it is a good idea, but you would have thought that we caballed it because Controller Lembo just went on the airwave the next hour and said, this is a horrible thing. I'm going to call the leaders of this legislature, and we're going to change it back to what it was.
Oh, jeez. So it's really Democrats against Democrats then?
Well, Democrats and Republicans, there is that possibility, Gary, where when we all work together, because there were so many bad components of that bill that were going to impact so many people and ultimately the taxpayers of Connecticut, we stood up together and made it happen. So I'm very proud of that. Yeah. But I got to tell you, the reaction was not one of conciliatory and saying we want to make it better. This is saying, I know the way and I know the best way. It's sort of like the bullying tactics that I talked about earlier, right? Yeah. There are 3 bills out there, Gary, the Republican offer, the governor's offer. Why are we not working together, taking the best components of each of those 3 bills and crafting something that we can be bipartisan and be proud of that is good for everyone in the state?
Oh.
But no, it is the arrogance of one-party rule that their way is the best. And even when we made the change, they didn't acknowledge that it might have been a better way. They said, no, we're going to jam it back to what it was. That's arrogance.
Well, 2016 is long over, I guess.
Oh, I mean,
in more ways than one.
A long memory.
Yeah, I hear that even Governor Ned Lamont, who's many consider a liberal Democrat, he's not even psyched about this, about the left-wing legislative Democrats creating this government-run health insurance. Teamsters are also opposed to government-run health care insurance.
The Teamsters came out in full force in a letter that said Senate Bill 842, the public option, is an affront to their well-managed, long-established Taft-Hartley health plans. When the union's coming out against this, it's troubling. And another reason why it's troubling and teetering has a concept when it has so many holes in it is they rushed the vote yesterday in committee, Gary. They rushed the vote yesterday. They scheduled a 9 o'clock meeting, didn't post the substitute language till 2 hours before, and didn't put it on the agenda till the day before, and then had a public hearing of the Republican bill afterwards. You can't make up the arrogance and the lack of transparency. What are they hiding from? What are they scared of?
Are they even allowed to do that? I thought rules and regulations are agreed to by each caucus's leaders, and they abide by that through the entire session. I didn't even know they're allowed to do that.
The rules have all changed with the one-party Democratic majority.
Oh, man.
It is what I said before. The resultant theme is the arrogance of Democratic one-party control. and the resultant lack of differing ideas and transparency. I said that in the beginning, and it is really a constant, is, look, people are running around trying to stay safe and healthy, trying to keep their businesses afloat. The fact that we are jamming bills like this and proceeding like this, and when news organizations are struggling, there's no transparency. There's no accountability. We're fighting hard. But the reality is, why are you jamming that bill through so fast? Are you hiding something?
Well, that's what it looks like.
Are you scared of better ideas? I'm very proud of a Republican idea, a better way, which is Senate Bill 1006, for people that are curious. Why not incorporate better ideas to make a better bill? We all agree health care insurance costs need to be managed.
Yes. So what happens now? Are the Democrats going to tax our health insurance premiums or not?
Well, that plan is still out there. That is another component of the public option and the governor's bill. That's another factor that we're fighting for. There are other factors in regards to using prescription drugs. We had a public hearing in which our many and brilliant and innovative insurance pharmaceutical companies came and testified and said this is far too onerous. So, look, we have to incorporate all shareholders' input. It's never easy. Like I said, if managing health care cost was easy, we would have done it 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. So we have to make an earnest effort with an open mind and an open heart to make things work the best and take all ideas. But right now, evident by the way they've handled the public option bill that's democratically controlled, they have the only way, and they're jamming it through despite objections from so many input. The CBIA, the largest agency representing small, mid-sized businesses, have come out and said this is a horrible idea. But you would have thought they'd listen to him.
I talked to the CBIA about this just a couple of weeks. Mr. Chris DiPentima, a couple of weeks ago about this. It's now. Senator Matt Lesser. He's actually the chair of this committee, right?
Yes, he is.
And he's allowing all these shenanigans to occur.
Yes.
Oh, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me.
The former House chair is now the chair of Finance, Representative Sean Scanlon, who I have great respect for. He's now the chair of Finance. But wait, hold on a second. This bill's now being referred to the Finance Committee because it needs to go through a financial revenue portion of the tax and assessment that you talked about. Look, there are many players. Again, let's go back. One-party Democratic control, and it's an agenda that is frightening because the end result, Gary, is bad bills that everybody has to be living with. Look, if you don't think it's happening already because all you need to see is the police bill that passed through many months ago.
Right.
It's
last summer.
Same process. It's a bad idea, bad bill that has dramatically negative impact on state budgets and public safety. But you know what? It got passed. We have to live with it.
Yeah. I've only got about 30 seconds. I know there's going to be a hearing on Monday, right, to have Big Brother-style central planning and zoning from state government. But I got 30 seconds.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, you're right. There's so many bad things. But this is about land use and zoning where the state's going to take over and tell the local municipalities how they should manage their properties and affordable housing and land use.
Goodness. Eminent domain.
But if I can make a pitch, people can learn more about it. They can go to my site with the information.
Really quick.
Senator Hwang, HWANG.com. The first landing page will show you the details about it. But I hope I'll come back to be able to share with you some of these bad proposals again.
Let's do it. Thank you so much, State Senator Tony Hwang. Appreciate your time. Have a great weekend. Talk to you soon. Coming right back to